So my task this morning is to give a very brief introduction to IBISBA. So first of all, IBISBA, the acronym means Industrial Biotechnology Innovation and Synthetic Biology Accelerator. IBISBA is a European infrastructure, and as Elaine just indicated, in the world of European infrastructures, there can be some terminology that's specific to European research infrastructures. So in the case of any jargon that you don't understand during the morning, hopefully we won't use too much, or if we do, we'll explain what it means. But don't hesitate to ask questions if anything's not clear. So when I begin to explain what IBISBA is, I try to start by the beginning, even though sometimes for some of our audiences, the information is rather basic, but I think it's an important piece of information, is to point out what IBISBA's intrinsic vision and mission are. Regarding IBISBA's vision, as I said, in its name, we have industrial biotechnology, and I think it's really important, especially at this period in time, to underline that industrial biotechnology is set to be a game changer. A game changer because the quite wide area of industrial biotechnology is set to be a key player in the bioeconomy. And this is because industrial biotechnology can provide the technology building bricks for a whole range of industrial solutions that would impact a large number of market sectors. And of course, when we talk about industrial biotechnology, it can sound quite narrow in strict terms, but actually, when we talk about industrial biotechnology in IBISBA, we're talking about biotechnology for all industry sectors, including goods and services, and these can also be services to the environment. So having given you an idea of what our vision is, what's our mission, and how do we think that IBISBA can help to contribute to this, to making this vision come true? Well, IBISBA aims to advance the development of industrial biotechnology by federating research facilities across Europe. This is because we have a lot of facilities in Europe. We know that Europe is very advanced in the field of industrial biotechnology. But what we want to do is to go beyond what already exists. We want to integrate research and development services. We want to develop standards. We want to digitalize operations, and all of this to deliver fit for purpose bioprocess concepts. So to achieve this, we are trying to provide user access to high quality reusable research and development services, and we'll hear more this morning about the notion of reusability. We also want to unlock translational research by developing interoperability between knowledge domains. We know that industrial biotechnology is formed from a number of knowledge domains. And also we want to be able to operate across experimental scales, going from the lab scale up to pilot scale. And of course, as an intrinsic part of our mission in IBISBA is to promote the circular bioeconomy transition through the development of education and training. So who are IBISBA, or where is IBISBA? Well, IBISBA, as I said, is a European research infrastructure across Europe. So it's distributed, so we're present in several countries. At this point in time, we're present in 9 member states and in the United Kingdom. And this accounts for 19 partners. So these partners are either research and technology organizations or universities, or some other form of research institute. And what links us together is we're all committed to developing industrial biotechnology. So you can see all of the logos of organizations that have so far to date signed the memorandum of understanding, which binds us together. So what is IBISBA all about? Well, on this slide, what I would like to propose to you is to ask ourselves a few simple questions. The first one is, what if users across Europe and beyond could better identify our facilities and pinpoint our expertise Generally, your users are mostly national users, sometimes very local users, and maybe that's not getting the best out of your facilities and your expertise, and maybe you would like to have users from a wider community across Europe. What if our facilities became interoperable? What would this mean? How would it enhance our individual services? What if we promote knowledge sharing between ourselves and with other stakeholders? How will this change the way that we operate our research infrastructures, and how will this change the overall result of what we produce? What if we decide to simplify contractual red tape? One of the complaints that's made about working with public sector establishments quite often when it's we're talking about public-private contracts is that it's very complicated to work with universities, because every university has a different system of dealing with contracts. And so partners are quite often looking for simplification of contractual red tape. And what if we devise distributed biofoundries to deliver advanced bioprocesses where they're needed across Europe? Things are moving fast in the world of biofoundries, and also things are moving fast in the world of digitalization. And in the future, we're going to see that more and more possibilities to interlink in a sort of a distributed fashion different facilities will become a reality, and we'll be able to develop bioprocesses in a quite seamless fashion, working in distributed, highly digitalized networks. And so you can see on the right-hand side of my slide, I'm trying to show you what we perceive as the current situation. So you can see the well-known engineering, design, build, test, learn cycle that's represented as 4 parts of a puzzle. And you can see what the situation is today. So when you want to actually do this design, build, test, learn cycle, you have a lot of challenges. And a lot of these challenges are linked to the lack of interoperability between the different stages in the cycle. And so you're going to have the research facilities that are working on the design of bioprocesses, and others that are expert in building cell factories, for instance, or designing the larger scale process. And these aren't necessarily linked together. So you get a lot of unproductive data and knowledge flow, and you get a lot of unproductive processes that need to be restarted and repeated. Sometimes as well, the infrastructure that you need for the next step is not available because maybe it's operated by a private operator, or maybe simply that it wasn't designed to be open to external users. And even when you really want to work together, and even when partners get together in project consortia, quite often the first thing we're confronted with are different operating standards, which prevent us from working smoothly together on projects. So the idea of IBISBA is to offer some solutions to this problem and allow smooth operations of the design, build, test, learn cycle. So the idea is that we create the framework to work together and deliver seamless design, build, test, learn cycles. That each facility in that case will increase its visibility within the overall user community and increase its reputation, because hopefully through working together we'll disseminate best operating standards. Collectively, we increase our capabilities to design, build and test bioprocesses. And if everything works out as we intend, then user satisfaction is increased. There's also a spin-off from this network, is that we can actually think together about how to optimize the overall network of facilities, and therefore optimize the use of public investments so that we don't duplicate unnecessary facilities where we don't need them. And overall, if we manage to succeed in this endeavor, then European industrial biotechnology should remain a leader in the future, which is, of course, not something that's easy in a very, very competitive world that we have today. So to start IBISBA, well, we kicked off with a Horizon 2020 project in just at the end of 2017, let's say the start of 2018. And we're coming to the end of that project now. So I just wanted to quickly tell you what we've achieved in the project, just as a few highlights before I hand over to the next speaker. On a very basic level, well, we've increased the visibility of IBISBA through communication. So you have a website that you can visit and you can find out more about IBISBA very easily by going to our website. We also have a service catalogue which has been compiled using existing information about the research facilities of our partners. And this service catalogue can be browsed by potential users. We've also created a data registry, which is called the IBISBA Hub, which is where we can register data and metadata related to our projects, but we can also register other types of knowledge assets. So it's quite an intricate and complex tool that's at the heart of IBISBA. We've also been operating for the last few years what's known in European research infrastructure jargon as transnational access. This means basically we've been launching project calls for proposals to use our infrastructure. These calls have been open for a quite wide research community. The principal target has been the European community, but as you can see on the slide, we've had proposals from other countries, including Latin American countries. You can see on the left-hand side of the slide that we've had 59 project proposals, so 59 users asking for access to research facilities. And this was achieved through 5 calls for proposals that will run over about roughly a 2.5 to 3 year period. Among the users or the people who are sending proposals, we have 61% of users are from academia, but we have significantly 34% from SMEs, and this has been really interesting for us. And we have a few minority projects that have come from large companies and also from non-profit organizations. So you can see we have quite a nice spread of users. I think research facilities within IBISBA that have taken part in the transnational access have been quite satisfied by the experience that's come out of this, and definitely some of our research facilities have expanded their user base through the transnational access experience. So what else has been achieved beyond what's been done in the IBISBA 1.0 project? Well, we've also started a new project called Horizon, which is also a Horizon 2020 project, which is called PrEP IBISBA. Now, why is it called PrEP IBISBA? Well, because in 2018, IBISBA was put onto the European strategic roadmap for research infrastructure. At the European level, it's the European Science Forum for Research Infrastructure, ESFRI, that is in charge of the roadmap. And this is quite a prestigious roadmap because there's around 40 so-called landmark infrastructure on the roadmap and 20 projects. So this is for the whole of the European Union. And you have some very emblematic research infrastructure on the roadmap, such as the data infrastructure called Elixir, or you also have the European telescope infrastructure that's partly located in Chile, and you've probably seen some nice pictures of that. So IBISBA is among these large European infrastructure. This is quite significant recognition for the importance of what we're proposing in IBISBA. Here you can see on the slide that we were also renewed on the roadmap in 2021, and if everything goes well, we'll stay on the roadmap for the 10-year period that's allotted to research infrastructure. And our objective is to go further and become a landmark infrastructure. At the moment, we're just a project, an infrastructure project. In more recent times, we've also succeeded in joining other European projects. So we've got a couple of Horizon Europe projects that are starting soon, They're infrastructure projects, and IBISBA is partner in these projects. So one is called AgroServe and one is called CanServe. And some of us were very busy recently building other Horizon European proposals, again, infrastructure projects. One is called by Industry 4.0, which was submitted a few days ago, and another is called EU Met, which was also submitted just a few days ago. So what's next in IBISBA? So on this slide, I'd just like to resume what we're trying to do what we're trying to put into place for the future. So you can see on the top, we have a timeline. And so the Horizon 2020 project Prep IBISBA is actually the preparatory phase for IBISBA. So that means that we're doing work to build the business model for IBISBA. And the overall objective is to create a legal entity, what's known as an ERIC, which is a European Research Infrastructure Consortium. It's a legal entity that resembles a non-profit company. And to get to the ERIC status, we need to go through the preparatory stage. Then we'll have a pre-implementation stage where we'll start to implement some of our business processes. And then we hope that beyond 2025, we'll be fully implemented and that the legal entity will exist. So during the period, we'll be transiting from sort of project management, European project management type structures to a permanent governing body capable of taking decisions for all those concerned by IBISBA. We'll be transiting from project mode to IBISBA ERIC legal status. We'll also be defining business processes to support pan-European operations. So for instance, we're already operating what we call the one-stop shop, which is a single portal access to all of the research facility services. We'll also be defining common rules and devising policies. So we're already very busy doing that. We're devising the user access policy, which will apply to the whole of IBISBA, intellectual property rights management policy. We're developing standard protocols that can be used by all of the different facilities. We're going to hear about service modularization this morning, so I won't talk any more about that. And we're also developing experimental quality standards. During the period, we're also hoping to expand the range of available services by recruiting other research facilities. And the idea there is to reinforce what's called national nodes. So Elaine used that term earlier. National nodes are basically the national groups of research facilities that participate in IBISBA. So you saw earlier, we have 10 countries involved at the moment. And within each country, there's an organization that mirrors the IBISBA organization at the European level. So the idea is to make sure that we have a range of services that satisfies all of the requests of our users, and also to make sure that IBISBA is present in a sufficiently large number of countries to be of use to the whole of Europe. During the period, we'll also be collecting key performance indicators from our facilities in order to illustrate the relevance of IBISBA. This is very important for our public authorities to convince them that IBISBA needs to be supported. And as I just pointed out, we're also focusing on participating in Horizon Europe projects. I mentioned earlier that some of the projects that I pointed out were infrastructure projects. I think for those of you who are not familiar, it's important to point out that quite a large piece of the Horizon Europe cake is exclusively targeting research infrastructure. So when you have research infrastructure status, you have access to European funding that's not otherwise accessible to, let's say, normal research laboratories. But there's not just Horizon Europe projects, of course. What we're also looking to do in the future is to build Interreg type projects, Interreg Europe projects, in order to join the different regions that are involved in IBISBA, so that we can also focus at the regional level on interoperability.